All right, what did you get for sine x?
8/12. 4 squared.
So opposite over hypotenuse, right? So it's 4 rad 5 over 12. It's okay. You did cosine, right? That's your adjacent. 8 is your adjacent. So the cosine of x is what? 8/12.
Oh, I swapped the two.
Yes. And then the tangent of x is 4 rad 5 over 8. Opposite over adjacent. Okay? That's 2 of the 5 questions on your quiz.
Oh, snap.
Is being able to just say,
There's only 5 questions on our quiz?
there's only 5 questions. Yeah.
Damn.
Looks like I'm gonna get a 2 out of 5 on this.
Okay.
3 out of 5.
This next batch, there is one of these where you're finding a side length. Nope, there's 2 of these. There's 2 from this batch. Okay? So there's 2 from here. There's 2 from here. And then there's one where you have to find an angle. Okay? All right, here's what we do. Where do you always start on these problems?
The given angle.
The given angle. What is my given angle right now? 33. Okay, so here's what you're doing. You are starting from here. Your job is figure out which 2 sides you have from there. So what is this side called?
14.
The 14.
The opposite of the given angle.
It's the hypotenuse.
That
I
would.
think it's the
Hold
hypotenuse.
on.
That 14 is the hypotenuse.
Higher, bro.
What is this side called?
Who is it?
Opposite or adjacent?
Opposite.
That's your opposite. Okay.
I don't know who it is.
So do I have to shut this really? Like, can we just for a day keep the window open? It's beautiful sunshine.
Beautiful day outside.
Okay, so if this is your setup,
Beautiful outside.
SOHCAHTOA, the so part has the O and the H, right? So opposite and hypotenuse. You're going to use which trig function? Sine, yes. We're going to say the sine. And what always comes after the trig function?
X.
It's not x.
Wait, what was the
What
question?
the heck?
What always comes after the trig function? Sine, cosine, tangent.
33.
The angle. It's the angle, right? So it's going to be sine 33. Just like in these ones, right? It was the sine of x.
But
Because
don't you put
x
33
was
in
the
front?
angle. Okay?
Don't you put 33 in front?
No. The angle will always come after the trig. After sine, cosine, or tangent.
But I thought it like...
When we solve, it will come in the back. Or you'll have something out in front. But that's a different number. Okay, so it says sine 33 equals what? If we set this up as sine,
X
it would
over
be
14.
opposite is x, hypotenuse is 14. Now the goal is to solve for the length of x. So what do?
14 on both sides.
You multiply by 14, yes. So if we multiply by 14 here, that's a 1, it goes away. Multiply by 14 here, put that out in front. Okay, plug this into your calculator. Make sure you're getting this. 14 sine 33. What do you get?
I got 7.6249464.
Yep, so to the nearest tenth, what would that be?
7.
7.6, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's got a 2 behind the 6. So that is 7.6. Okay? Okay, I'm going to do number 5 with you, and then I want you guys to try those next 2. Where do you start on number 5?
The given angle.
The given angle, the 61. Good. Okay, so if I'm starting here, now I have to define what sides I have from there.
Adjacent.
This one is your adjacent.
Adjacent.
It's cosine.
This one is what?
That's hypotenuse.
The hypotenuse. So the one that has adjacent and hypotenuse, that's the ka part of SOHCAHTOA. So it's going to be cosine, always the angle, okay? The angle is always what comes next. So cosine 61 equals what over what? 9 over x. Okay, now this one's a little bit different how you solve for it. Well, eventually you'll divide. First we multiply by what? God bless you. First we're going to multiply by x so that we can get it out of the denominator.
Wait, so we always multiply the bottom.
You'll always multiply by the denominator. Yep. Okay, so right now this is what we have. X times the cosine of 61 equals 9. What's your next step? We want to isolate x. How do we get x by itself right now? Divide. Yeah, we're going to divide by the cosine of 61. So this goes away, right? Plug this into your calculator, and what do you get?
9 divided by cosine. No.
Cosine 61.
61.
What?
I got 18.563.
9.
So to the nearest tenth, what would that be to the nearest tenth? 18.6. Yes. 1 decimal place, right? If it's nearest tenth. Okay. You try 6 and 7. So figure out sine, cosine, or tangent. How do you set it up? How do you solve it? Tell me what you did.
Okay. What I did was, I don't remember what I did. I just
Sine, cosine, or tangent? Truett, sit down.
tangent, because the angle.
You don't need gum right now. We need to do this because you're taking a quiz.
Adjacent.
Tangent because it's opposite over adjacent. So you start at the angle, right, which is 29. You have your opposite and you have your adjacent. Okay, opposite over adjacent is the TOA part. So it should be,
The toe. It's.
tan what? What always comes after sine, cosine, or tangent? An angle. And this is the 29 that we have. So tan 29 equals, is this x over 5.4 or 5.4 over x?
X over 5.4.
X over 5.4. Okay, so from here,
And then after that, do
now you
multiply
solve for
it?
x. Hey, shh.
Oh.
After that, do you multiply?
Now you multiply by 5.4.
And then put that on the other side.
Okay, so this is what you're going to plug into your calculator. And you get,
You think
I
that.
got it right.
okay?
Those are just AirPods.
I swear I got that wrong.
Okay, number 7. What trig function did you use?
I used
Tan.
Tangent. So from the angle, this is your opposite. This is your what?
Adjacent.
Adjacent. That's TOA. Okay. Probably the most common mistake that I see made on these is people flip which one goes on top. Okay. It's opposite over adjacent. So you're going to say the tangent
Over X.
of 68 equals 6 over x. And now, when your variable's in the denominator, what do you do?
I was gonna
Carried by 6.
multiply by 6 on both sides.
Multiply
Like
the
68
six.
times 6, 6.
Multiply
So
X
you
on
multiply by
X.
6 on both sides if the 6 is your denominator. You're always going to multiply by the denominator. So right now, your denominator is x. So we're going to multiply by x on both sides.
No.
Right? So it's x times the tangent of 68 equals 6. Hey, no more voices today. And then you're going to divide by the tangent of 68. So this goes away.
Oh.
I just put 6
This
over
is what you're going to plug in.
Okay.
What?
I just
I have a
like,
question.
I just remember to just
No,
put
you
the
don't.
6 over there when I'm dividing. Like, I don't even
That's fine.
times them.
So after you
I'm not gonna
put
count on
the
your
X,
kids on
after you
this
put the X
No,
on
he will.
both sides,
No, I won't. I
No, you
promise. I'll like.
What, Dakota?
after you put the X on both sides, then you have to put, so you put, hold on.
So multiply by x on both sides. That's this, right? Which is going to make this 1. That goes away. So it becomes x tan 68 equals 6. Right? So then if we're trying to solve for x, we want to do the opposite operation and divide. Because right now this is multiplication. So divide by tan 68 on both sides. So here's basically the rule, you guys. If your denominator is the variable, you should do the number divided by the trig. If your denominator is a number, then it's that number times the trig, right?
When Isaiah gets back, can I refill my water?
Oh, I was gonna ask you first.
We'll do a quick break before we move into the quiz. Okay, this is the last thing. There is one of these on your quiz.
Can you use the restroom?
After we do these, we'll take a quick break at the end of it.
You're
Um,
to listen.
okay.
With your ears.
So if this is our setup and we are solving for an angle, do you remember what you have to use when you solve for an angle? This was our last lesson.
No, I actually don't.
The
That was-
inverse, right?
That was so hard.
The one that has that -1 superscript, right? The up top -1.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay,
I don't remember.
the process is exactly the same up until that very last step though.
I don't remember this.
I'm gonna reteach it to you right now. Where do you start?
X.
Give an angle.
Always at the angle. So in this case, the X, okay? So nothing changes there. You set it up the same way. What two sides do you have? What is this side
The
called?
hypotenuse and the
Hypotenuse.
opposite.
This is the opposite. This is the hypotenuse, so that is sine, right? So we're gonna say the sine of the angle equals 24/29. And I will tell you right now, the most common mistake I see gets made right here. People try to multiply by 29 because you're so used to multiplying by the denominator. We don't multiply this by 29.
Can I say
Okay.
what I think you do next?
What do you do next?
Okay, to get rid of the X, you have to do the little, what's it called?
Inverse?
The inverse.
Not to get rid of the X. We're trying to isolate the X, right? But to get rid of this, we take the inverse sign. So you take the inverse sign over here also. That gets rid of our sign, and now it's X equals. Here's what you're going to plug in. Second sine 24/29. So plug that into your calculator. Second sine 24 divided by 29 to the nearest whole degree. So no decimal points. What do you get?
55.8515.
It's 55.8515. Yeah, that number. So to the nearest degree, it would be what Luke said, 56 degrees. Okay?
Good evening, guys. So, bro.
Okay, go to number 9.
Evening.
Wait, why did you go to 6?
Because there's an 8.
Or wouldn't it just be 9?
Ain't that 100
What would you do if
rounds,
there's a five?
That's if it's nearest 10th. This is nearest degree.
Oh.
So with the degrees, we don't usually leave a decimal point.
Just remove it? Okay. What would you do? Okay. What would you do if there was like 55.5? Would it be like
56.
Okay.
The 5 would bump it up to
If it was
Oh.
55.4.
55.
Okay.
So if it's 5 or higher, you bump it up.
So
If
we're
it's
not doing like 55.0. Do we have to do?
no,
But
this
if
one
it was
is
like a
nearest
single
degree,
number-
so that's a whole number.
If it was like a single number, so if it was like 5.4, then that would be like 5.0.
To the nearest 10th, that would be 5.4. To the nearest whole number, it would be 5.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be real picky on the rounding today.
Well, did
I want
all
you to
the
understand the
homework
concept.
by the way. Like,
I saw that. You-
yeah.
You didn't take the inverse.
I just pressed 10 all the time.
But you guys have to show me your work on the homework. Like, you're just writing answers. I cannot give you full credit for that. It's not.
But it's like, I'm just putting it
I
all
give
into
you
my
like 5
calculator.
problems. Okay, this one. Where are you starting? Isaiah, put it away.
X.
At the X. Okay. What two sides do you have from X?
The adjacent.
This one's the adjacent.
Opposite.
It's not the opposite.
Hypotenuse.
It's the hypotenuse. Across from the right angle is always the hypotenuse. Okay, so if it's adjacent and hypotenuse, what trig function?
Cosine.
Cosine. So we're going to say the cosine of the angle equals 9/20. How do you plug this into your calculator? What do you have to do?
84 plus 44?
9 divided by 20.
Inverse cosine of 9 divided by 20. Okay, so second
63.
cosine
3.3.
9 divided by 20.
That's a nice car.
That is
Okay.
a very nice car. It's okay.
You're weird with
Man, that's an ugly car.
So 63 degrees.
Yeah, it should be white.
Okay?
What?
Okay, 2 left, and you're going to do those 2. Plug that in, set it up.
57.
see what you get. On which one? Number 10?
Yes.
I don't know. What did you get, Isaiah?
For 10?
Number 10.
57.1.
Sounds like you guys are right. I haven't found it yet. All right, work it out. See what you get. All right, let's walk through it.
7.
Where are you starting from? On number 10 here. Start at X. Okay, you always start at the angle. What two sides do you have? What is this side called?
Opposite.
That's the opposite. What is this side called?
Adjacent.
Adjacent.
The adjacent. So that's TOA, right? So we're going to say the tangent of always the angle that comes after your tan function equals 17 over 11. How do you solve when you're solving for an angle?
Second tan.
Inverse tan.
17.
Right? So you say second tan so that it looks like that. 17 over 11. And what do you get to nearest degree?
57.1.
57 degrees.
I just got
Okay?
57.1.
Degrees, we always do nearest degree, not nearest tenth. Okay, so look at number 11.
I didn't get that.
Is it
Where do you start? You start at X.
Opposite.
What is this side called? The 29. That's the adjacent. What is this side called?
Opposite.
The opposite. So which one uses opposite and adjacent?
Toa.
Which is the tangent. Tangent of what?
12 over 29.
So will equal 12 over 29. What comes after the trig function always?
X.
The angle. So tan X equals 12 over 29.
22.
And then you set it up with the inverse tangent. So the inverse tangent of 12 over 29 is what you plug in. And what does it come out to?
22.
22 degrees.
I'm ready.
Alright, we're ready.
I'm not
Miss
ready.
Ruben.
Can this
I don't want it to come out of my head.
Can
Take
we
it
use
now.
this with the text?
You don't even want to do this?
No.
I
No,
want
yes,
to
yes,
start.
yes, yes.
I don't know.
please.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay, come up and pick one question.